The next major expansion for Kill Team, the Nachmund box set, has now released, and like the other expansions, has brought some interesting additions to the game. In this video, I'm going to be discussing the new terrain traits introduced to the game in this expansion. Just like the Chalneth and Octerius books before it, the Nachmund expansion adds new terrain rules to change the game. But what stood out to me when going through the book is that these new additions significantly increase the interactivity of the game board itself, further emphasizing the modern rules design Kill Team enjoys. Something 40k could drastically use, but that's a conversation for another video. The box set comes with a decent amount of terrain, and most of it works like how you would expect. So, getting the boring stuff out of the way first. Pipes behave like barricades in that they are both light and traversable. The crane and fuel reservoirs have the heavy trait. The ferrotonic furnace is heavy, the ladders have the scalable trait in addition to being heavy, the top of it counts as a vantage point, and the ramparts have light and traversable. The thermic plasma regulators themselves are much the same as the ferrotonic furnace. All well and good, but what about the new stuff? First up is the hatch, which introduces the small and explorable traits. Small isn't all that interesting, it's similar to insignificant, with the exception you cannot set up or finish a move on top of it, but the explorable trait allows an operative to perform the explore underground action. I was expecting this to be maybe similar to a teleport mechanic where you can go in one hatch and pop out to the other, but on retrospect, that would feel strange with the timescale Kill Team battles take place in. Games Workshop, recognising this, went in a completely different direction with it. These hatches represent possible secret hiding holes, or stashes which would be beneficial for your forces to reconnoitre, so any operative which performs the Explore Underground action gains 1 experience point and marks the hatch as explored, so no one else is able to explore it. In a tactical sense, this is a minor addition, but it adds something much needed to narrative play. Right now, after playing through a Spec Ops campaign, I can see the potential for narrative play, but it often lacks any significant impact, and one of the reasons for that is the abysmally slow XP rates gain. So, with that being said, I'd definitely like to see more stuff like this in the future. The downside, of course, is that it means the hatch doesn't do all that much in open and match play, except for hinder movement a little bit, but that's where the next terrain pieces kick in. Here we have the exhaust vent. When the Nachmund box set was revealed, I was initially concerned by the lack of line of sight blocking terrain, but those concerns have proven to be unfounded because of the new exhaust vent trait. In addition to being light and traversable, the exhaust vent lets out a plume of smoke which extends the distance of circle horizontally and an unlimited distance in upwards height. Operatives within the area of smoke count as being in cover and are completely invisible if a cover line is drawn through the area of smoke. What makes this new terrain feature particularly fun is that if an operative is within triangle of it, for an action point they can close the vent for the rest of the game, getting rid of the smoke plume. Stuff like this, interacting with the terrain in such a manner that changes the ebb and flow of the game, forcing the opposing side to adapt their battle plans on the fly, makes for a much more tactically interesting battle space.
Das war ein Befehl! Der Angriff Steiners war ein Befehl!
Next up we have the power relay substation. Like the pipes, it is both light and traversable, but what makes it interesting is the new power core trait, which allows operatives to try and salvage the power cores for an action point. Doing this requires the operative to be within triangle of the terrain feature and to successfully roll a 3+ on a d6 when doing the action to salvage the core. Do this and you remove the power core trait from the substation, and more importantly, you gain an extra command point. Welcome news for those kill teams who are particularly thirsty when it comes to strategic and tactical ploys. Finally, we have the Smog Stack, which introduces the new Toxic Smog trait. Unlike the exhaust vent, this terrain piece doesn't automatically start the game turned on, but at the start of each turning point, you roll a d6, and if you roll high enough, it starts belching out toxic smog. The smog itself causes any operative within square to lose 1 point from their defense value, making them much more vulnerable to incoming ranged attacks. In a similar manner to the exhaust vent, any operative which is close enough to the smog stack can spend an action point to shut it off for the rest of the game. So in conclusion, I have to admit, I'm a fan of these rules, at least on paper. These rules should help your battles feel like they're taking place in the industrial hellscape that this terrain set is meant to represent. Do you like the sound of these rules, or do you prefer keeping your game simpler and sticking to the traits found within the core rulebook? Let me know in the comments and let's get a conversation started. If you want to see more videos like this, hit the like and subscribe button, and hit that notification bell if you want to be alerted when we release our next battle report. I'll see you all in the next video.